Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Friday night edition of the Moriah Nightly News. A lot to cover tonight, both around the world and in our region. Stay tuned. A lot happened this week with the war in Iran overseas in the Middle East. There seemed to be a bit of confusion, as we noted on Wednesday, where it was not clear how things were going to pan out between different negotiations that the president was trying and what seemed to be ongoing escalation in the Middle East with more hardware, more military assets, and ultimately ground troop or not ground troops. I don't want to jump the conclusion, but the troops are at the ready. It's estimated by one source that around 10,000 are being deployed or are standing on guard in the region for what the Pentagon has planned. Now, some of it right now, because it all happens rather quickly, and considering that we are just out of the gate, up and coming with our first week, more on that will, of course, follow. But what it seems like it could be is a type of what one source called a carrot and stick diplomacy, trying to, I guess, almost bait them is what it seems like. And so it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. The Iranians, of course, rejected that. Of course, Pakistan had attempted to, I guess, mediate those discussions, and the Iranians said no. And again, I'm not surprised because you can't negotiate with a terrorist, and the fact that anyone would want us to consider that. Now, war is always ugly, but and I know that there are many innocent people in the crosshairs on all sides, especially the Iranian people that have been oppressed for so long, and the Israelis. Really, the whole situation needs prayer. It is the best thing we can do here at home. So we continue to monitor that and monitor the rest of the geopolitical situation with everything that has unfolded over the last couple of months. We caught a live stream this evening that looked like it had re-aired on a smaller news outlet via YouTube, where the president was speaking about the actions in Venezuela and the Greenland situation there that was so controversial earlier this year. And he noted, of course, it was a press briefing and talking about Venezuela, talking about the acquisition of oil there, talking about Greenland and the amount of military assets that are already There, we had our first technical difficulty. We lost our camera feed there for a second. So that'll be so in any event, that'll be an interesting thing to see how all of this is playing out. Interestingly, I was also doing some research on oil production. That, of course, the United States produces most of its own oil anyway, with the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. All of this controversy over the Strait of Hormuz. And so what I'm suggesting, and I cannot say that this is a fact, but so take it as an opinion, or basically it could be the case, it might not be the case, that what might be happening is that we're being repositioned to have other options for resources with oil, and all of that goes with it, in terms of maintaining the balance between exporting and importing, and to, I guess in the case of if this keeps going, if it worsens, or perhaps in the long run to reshape the way that the United States gets its energy sources, and so that we would not need to be as dependent on the Middle East and all of these OPEC nations that control and manipulate, quite honestly, the price of oil anyway. So that if America is producing the most oil and the supply is high, I would think that there should be enough to meet the demand. And so I'm thinking that that's what's happening here in this case, that all of the chaos of the earlier parts of the year are perhaps a part of a greater strategy on the part of be it the perhaps the Pentagon and others, and certainly the president. Shifting around to the region, and we had a great help by the Times of Thai, because it came out today, and an article there discussed the details on the grant, what's going on with that in the future, and we had reported on that earlier in the week, and there was a quote from that article where the writer called it perhaps the single greatest financial opportunity the town of Moriah has ever been granted in the beginning of new prosperity. And of course it caught my attention. I'm sure that if many of you who read the Sun, I have a hard time calling it the Sun because it was always the Times of Thai when I grew up, that it seems I thought at first it was a bold statement, and I believe there were, in one other spot, and I lost my notes. Oh, here we go. One other phrase in the article said that this was part of the process that the state goes through and decides who gets these funds and whatnot. That this was hoped to wake the sleeping giant back up, meaning that Moriah has been asleep for the last however many years since the mines closed, and so this is going to help to reboot the economy. Now, I don't dispute that all of that would not be good. Anytime money comes this way is good, be that from the state and be that from the private sector, and essentially that's ultimately for the future. I believe what we need to see is more private sector investment and more entrepreneurship, much like this endeavor. But the reality is, as I mentioned on on Wednesday that we have an uphill battle with those things from the state, and you can catch that if you go back and rewatch Wednesday's broadcast. But the significant part of this process is that over the next few months, I believe it was 8 to 9 months, yes, 8 to 9 months of planning. There will be public meetings in the town of Moriah. So that will be significant to watch, and I encourage you to please go and share your opinion on where you would like to see the money go. Because the local leadership can't make those decisions well without your support and without your backing on that. Someone suggested to me that they would like to see more investment up in the Mineville, Witherby part of town with some of those dilapidated buildings up there. That's probably not part of this project, but that could be something down the road. So do please check that out. Do go to the meetings. For all the things that happen around here, local support is it's important. It's always appalling to me at election time that all of the local offices, whether it's the town supervisor or the town councilman, all run unopposed, and there's such a lack of interest in any part of the process there. So do go and influence where the leadership direction goes in the town we live in. So we'll be following that over the next few weeks, the months ahead. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the piece that the Sun also reported on Dayton Diedrich, Mr. Diedrich. For many of us who went to school in Moriah and had him as a teacher in, well, I guess they call it tech. I think shop was a more suitable name for it, but that's just because I'm a little too old-fashioned, I guess. They have organized his family, and I read in the article that Dayton himself had organized this in 2024. It's a boot stomp, which is basically you have four concerts. I believe four bands rather have volunteered their time and resources and energy for this event to not only honor his legacy, but to raise money for the American Cancer Society and cancer treatment, and bring about an end to that he bravely fought. And so that was definitely a community spotlight piece that was a little more lighthearted, that I felt we should end the week on. Week 1 of operations here at the Moriah Channel have officially closed, I suppose, in some sense, as we enter into the weekend. Remember that Palm Sunday is this weekend, and there are options in the area. That was one thing I did not look at in the Times of Tide, because the Easter services are out if you're interested in those. However, I happen to know that your options in the town of Moriah, at least, you have 9 o'clock at the Moriah Methodist Church this Palm Sunday with the Reverend Dr. Ken Parker, or you have Mass at 11 a.m. at St. Patrick's Church in Port Henry with Father Joe Giroux. I encourage you all to go. I encourage you all to participate. Support these churches. Support the things in our community. Bring a little life to the town of Moriah. And so we end here on week 1. things are getting a lot smoother, I'll have to tell you. Learning how to be a producer, a director, and produce content, along with um, advertising, uh, financial planning, figuring out, uh, you know, all of those things behind the scenes as well. So thank you for. So the one thing I do want to end, of course, with is thank you for all the support, all your comments on Facebook, and all of that is really what makes this all possible. What makes it all happen. It could not happen without you watching, without you paying attention. And please spread the word. Share it on Facebook as much as possible. Share it on YouTube as much as possible, because the more you share, the easier it gets. Right now, this could be live streaming on Facebook Live. Um, if it gets more attention and can push past their 60-day requirement, I would have to look at that again, but I think that they might move the bar if enough people are watching or are interested in the product. So do pay attention to that. The Patreon page is active, of course, and there is a PayPal link there if you want to support us. But of course, click like and subscribe. And so this is the Moriah Nightly News for March 27th, 2026. God bless you and stay well.